Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Telos Buzz. Hope you guys are doing great today on this fabulous Friday. It's morning here, actually noontime for us. So that weird moment between, morning and afternoon. But I hope wherever you guys are, wherever you're listening from, that you're having a lovely day. It's great to see you guys. Evan, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's so good to see you, Thomas, and really excited to have our guest on, Daniel Keys from Pomelo.
Yeah.
Whoever shows up in the chat here, we're really excited to see you too.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this chat with Daniel Keys. We've had him on before to talk about Pomelo, but so much has changed since the last time. Not in terms of what public goods are or why they're important, but as we'll find out, there's a couple of new things around this time in season 4 of Pomelo. Man, that's like the winter. If you're starting in spring, that'd be the winter of Pomelo winter.
Feels like season 3 was only yesterday. It's crazy.
It's true. And guys, remember, as part of what Telos Culture is doing, we got a grant. We're going meta on public goods here. We got a public grant from Telos Works to help promote Telos projects on Pomelo. So if you're a project on Telos that is building a public good that wants to learn more about what Pomelo does, or you guys want to submit yourself and get some funding for what you're building, reach out to us and we will help you out. We can help you craft an application, find the public good kind of within what you're doing, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and lots more. So definitely reach out. You can reach out to Jenna on Telos Culture in our Telegram, and she'll give you all the details. We're going to go through some quick few little things of news first before we dive into our guest. But yeah, let us know how you guys are doing in the chat. Say hello. We'll say hi back because we're kind and, we like saying hello. So let's go through our first little news piece, and then we'll bring in Daniel. First, sad times. I hope Twitter, it does not die, but it looks like it's kind of on its last legs right now.
We're chatting a tiny bit about this morning. Yeah. Do you want to tell us some of the deets?
I've been following a tiny bit. As you know, guys, I'll probably know by now, Elon Musk bought Twitter. Hooray, hurrah. And then he proceeded to fire like half of its staff, which was a huge labor violation. And then there was this thing yesterday where you had until 5 p.m. to be like, are you in on Twitter, or are you not?
You're a
cool?
Twitter quitter.
Yeah, exactly. And then a bunch of people quit. But also there was a whole fiasco where people were creating like fake verified accounts and tweeting things like insulin is free and causing a bunch of stock crashes.
Yeah, a completely separate incident, but related for sure.
Yeah. So, but if you're gutting your team that is handling that kind of content moderation, verification and stuff, that's what happens. So Icarus, does he fall from the sun? Does he get burned? We will soon see. But also goodbye. Hopefully Twitter, crypto Twitter is a great resource and great communities there. So hopefully that doesn't die, but I'm sure it'll move if it does. So that's our first little piece of ecosystem news today, is hopefully Twitter is not going to go away.
For sure. And we got some hellos from the audience. Hello, Brian, Potato Man, Tushik, Catherine. Thanks so much for showing up. I don't know if there were some chats in here before we started. But
if you guys say hello now, it'll show up on the little side stream here. Say hello.
Oh, perfect. Yes, we're live.
Yes. One new thing. Oh, let's go on to some NFT news. We got some exciting things. There's going to be there is currently a Fortis NFT anniversary mint going on right now. You can get a free NFT. It's Fortis's first year. Go check that out. There's a Crown and Palette auction. They're the first Mission NFT. No, not Mission NFT.
The Ignite
winner. Yeah. So that'll be fun. That's going on. There's also Gooey has dropped some info from Legend of the Realms, his new project, which you can learn about in our last Telos Buzz. And I got to show this off. We got Potato Man in the chat here, actually. Culture
Yeah, that's so
Man
fitting.
exists. Look at this. Look at this beautiful boy. There he is. That's us. We got our little our YouTube gold thing. We're well away
Just
from
a
hitting
matter
that.
of time. Just a
But
matter of time, guys.
exactly. Thank you for the vote of confidence, Potato Man.
What a cutie too. Oh my gosh.
I know. I know. I like his little potato hand as well. That's probably the cutest part. That little French fry.
I don't know.
But
They're like there's some like I feel like it should be creepy, but it's not. It's just kind of cute.
it's true. So that maybe we'll make this our background for a little bit before I get chaotic and change it back. Without further ado, though, let's bring on Daniel Keys and let's get publicly good. Daniel, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Hey guys, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're
So
really
great to see
excited.
you. I think we last I'm sure we've seen each other in video calls since, but we met in Toronto at Futurist.
Yeah, that was
Nice.
awesome. I had a great time there, hanging out with the Antelope crew in person, first time in 3+ years, probably. I think that was my first big event in years. So yeah, awesome getting to know you guys and others from the community.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was cool kind of because Antelope didn't officially exist yet, but I feel like kind of it's neat seeing kind of like the whisperings of it, like coming to fruition live while you guys were all together
Or
in the
people
same
whispering
room,
around
which is
like, "Ooh,
very
there's going to be a gazelle in the name or something."
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
it's just
it
cool,
was
like
at that event I got the sneak preview for the first time. I knew that they were working on the
Ah,
brand for a long time, and I was hanging out with Zach from the EOS Network Foundation around the pool, and he's like, "Check this out." Showed me his phone, had the little early version of the new Antelope logo, and that was the first time I got to see it. So you're right. Yeah, the whisperings of Antelope were happening.
right. So it's further
there.
along even than I thought. That's very cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, anyway, welcome. Thank you. And you're here to tell us about Pomelo. Anything you want to start out with?
Yeah, actually, let's jump into, we've talked about this in a previous video before, but really quickly, like, what is a public good? Why do they need funding? And why do we need public goods in general? Why can't they just all be private goods? What's up with that?
Sure. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Pomelo, a crowdfunding platform, to qualify to participate, your grant has to be a public good. So what a public good is in a nutshell, something that's non-rivalrous and non-excludable. So what does that mean? Non-excludable means basically it's free. You can't exclude anybody from being able to use the good. So anyone can access it for free. And non-rivalrous means it's basically infinitely scalable. By one person using it, you're not preventing or impeding someone else's ability from using it. So some examples of great public goods: open source software, free educational content. Those are kind of the big ones. Apps that are just free to use and access. Social media that has no fee to participate in. These are all great examples of public goods.
A good example of
Right.
something that's not a public good is an ice cream cone. If I'm walking down the street, I can't be like, "Hey, everyone, want to look at my ice cream cone?" because that's gross. But also, I'd run out of ice cream very quickly.
And it's gonna run. Yeah, even if you gave those licks away for free, at some point you're gonna run out of licks, and so that's rivalrous.
Right.
Not excludable. Free ice cream licks.
Yeah.
You check the non-excludable box,
Mhm.
but you fail to meet the non-rivalrous criteria.
I do like my ice cream marvelous, so I'll have to keep it at that way. But that's good. I meant to have the criteria there. Okay, so private. That's good. Really, just a good description of what a public good is and what it isn't.
Mhm.
But why do public goods need funding? And how does Pomelo kind of work to get projects the funding that they need? Why can't we just all have, private goods? What's up with that?
Yeah, well, public goods are really important for communities. It's the infrastructure that is free to access that makes communities work. If you go to the real world, Pomelo is focused on digital public goods, particularly for the Antelope ecosystem. But look at in the city you live in: roads, clean air, all these kind of pieces of infrastructure that people expect to be able to use for free. That in the meat space are usually paid for with things like taxes.
Right.
And these are things, again, people expect to be able to use for free. And because there's no business model for these things, because they're free, how do you monetize them? How do you actually fund the continued development and maintenance of these things? So, moving to the digital Web3 space, there's all these things we need, like wallets, APIs, kind of these core infrastructure pieces. Again, educational content. These are things that help, make a community be able to grow and thrive. And without a way to fund those things, they don't happen, and that community starts to disintegrate. And that's what we saw in the early days of EOS. There was, a big promise of a worker proposal system that would allow the community to self-fund their public goods. It took years for us to get to the point where we now have Pomelo and the EOS Network Foundation and all these now funding mechanisms. But it was, what we saw was a lot of hope for the EOS community. There was a big thriving community that came for this promise. We started building lots of great things with, again, this understanding that funding was coming. That funding never came, or it took too long to come. And in the meantime, people left. That core infrastructure started to crumble, or they weren't built at all. And a year into Pomelo and a year into the EOS Network Foundation funding things, we've seen a drastic turnaround. People are returning, things are getting built, the user experience is improving because now there's funds to, actually put the effort into making good infrastructure that actually people can use.
Potato Man breaks it down really well. Public goods, heartbreak, EOS.
Yeah, I think
but no more with Pomelo.
I've seen that too in other areas and communities, right? Like I'm an artist. I got a CNC router once, being like, oh, surely there's a bunch of open source software to run this incredible piece of technology that I just bought. And now, like, sure, I can buy a very expensive software to run it, and there is free software, but it's all very clunky. And the end of the day, there just wasn't funding for people to make free software for these expensive machines that, are mostly being run by huge factories that can afford expensive software. So I think that's a good example of, this incredible technology that is being hindered by the lack of public goods available for it.
Yeah. They call that the free rider problem. So, it's free. There's no incentive. Everyone just wants to use it without chipping in to fund it. So, what we're attempting with Pomelo is to solve that free rider problem for digital public goods in the Antelope ecosystem.
Yeah, and people are responding to it. Like you guys, you were to tell me some stats earlier. You guys went from 75 grants in season 1 to 140 in season 2, 172 in season 3, and now it's the start of season 4. Grant applications are open. Donations haven't started yet; those come later.
How many grants are we at?
And those are approved grants, by the way. So those are the grants that actually qualified as public goods.
Right.
So I don't have the stats in front of how many people actually applied. Another thing, though, I've noticed over time is the percentage of grant. I don't have the number in front of me to give you, but part through these seasons, like going through this exercise of going through a Pomelo season, as a community, we're getting better at identifying public goods and tailoring our grant applications to be public goods. So we're getting a higher percentage of grants that have been approved actually qualifying as public goods, because as a community, we're learning. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, it's cool to see the whole community kind of evolving to address these public issues, and I think that's very powerful. And hopefully, going forward, it's going to continue contributing to the network in a big way. So speaking of the huge number of grant applications, I have two questions. One, how many are we at now for season 4? We're on season 4, right?
We're on season 4.
Right.
We've in the system, we've so far approved 28.
Nice.
It's only I think we're on day 4 now. I've got a whole bunch more though in the queue to approve. A few in action require. You see here, I got 28. I still need to read through. Another 13 queued up to be approved. So I don't know. I'm not good at math on the fly, but we're probably up to over 100 that have been submitted now.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you're struggling, say, to read through 200 grants yourself, I understand you're coming up with a solution for that.
That's right. Yeah, big new feature coming for season 4. It's called the collections, and it really addresses two big problems or pain points that we're seeing. You know, we listen to our community after every season. We put out surveys. We talk to them one-on-one in our chats, and some of the big feedback we were getting from the community is, as a donor, it's still too hard to browse through all these grants and decide what are the good ones. And additionally, as a donor, there's no way to verify that a grant is actually delivering what they promised they would be delivering.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were kind of hoping that that's a role that maybe the Pomelo team would play. Could you guys audit the grants and check that they're actually doing what they said they were doing and only approve the ones that are? For our perspective, that's not our place. The goal with Pomelo is really, it's like a democratic platform to allow the community to decide what are the grants that deserve funding.
Mm-hmm.
So what collections is going to do is actually make that easy, enable the community to be able to serve that role. So what it does is allows you to, anybody in Pomelo can create a collection of the grants that they believe are worthy of supporting. And you can, anyone can create up to 3 collections. You can theme them however you want. So you can, give them a description. Maybe this is my Telos collection. I'm going to just put all the grants that are supporting the Telos ecosystem, or these are the great API grants. And you can leverage your reputation, as a collector. Maybe you've got a strong reputation in the community. And then now as a donor, you've simplified that. Rather than having to read through 200 grants, and maybe you don't have a deep technical understanding of what is technically feasible or what's needed, rather than having to make that decision yourself and do all that legwork of reading through all the grants yourself, you can go browse through the collections and donate to the collections of the people in the community who you respect and have a reputation.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can, the people creating collections can serve that auditing purpose. Again, only put the grants in your collection that you have seen demonstrated are actually delivering what they promised. And then, so as a grant, and another piece of feedback we've been getting is it's difficult, especially for new grant owners, to get attention and attract donations. So this is an opportunity if you get the attention of a well-respected collector, and your grant ends up in their collection, you're getting more exposure as a grant. So
right, a bit like the art world, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this
it's an opportunity to gain exposure. It's an opportunity for everyone to build a reputation as a collector by collecting the good grants that are delivering value. And it's a way to hold the grants accountable and just make it an easier donation experience for everybody.
And this is really cool for, us, for example, for I like, blockchain stuff, but I don't have the technical background. But like, Evan, you're an amazing artist. You know a lot about the art world stuff. There's a bunch of cool zines and comic books. It's comic books. I think it's a lot of zines and media stuff that are coming out of Pomelo as well. But something that we know a fair
own coalition chronicle.
It's true. That's coming out at some point. I got to work on that over the weekend so we can hit our application deadline. But we could, put together a list of, hey, these are some cool projects that we saw that hit our artistic criteria or whatever. So it's letting us use kind of the expertise that we have to, give back to the Pomelo community or highlight what we want to see. So that's a really cool way to leverage kind of everyone in this space to get involved. I like it.
Totally. Question that I'm sure everyone's wondering, Daniel, and I think you're even wondering yourself, are you going to make a collection? And people in the audience, do you think Daniel should make a collection?
Yeah. I'd love to hear the feedback of the audience. It's something I'm on the fence on right now. I want to kind of, in one way, kind of keep neutral, but in another way, I'm reading every single grant anyways. I'm the one that approves which ones get are accepted to be able to participate. So I'm already reading them all. I've been reading them all since season 1, so I've got a lot of historical context. I'm just the hesitancy is trying to remain a little bit neutral, and B, I'm already overloaded with people asking, when are you going to approve my grant?
Right.
Adding on, when are you going to add me to your collection?
Totally.
Yeah, that's kind of like adding one this person.
Maybe you need to make like a Potato Man style, like anonymous character.
Yeah.
Potato Man's a real potato weapon. Don't say otherwise.
Oh. So sorry, Potato
But
Man.
I'm leaning towards yes, actually. So we'll see. I haven't had a chance to create my collection yet. Some others on my team have. I noticed that the ENF has created a collection. That's kind of pretty cool. Eve from the ENF has one with the kind of the goal. Again, he has a lot of context of what's happening. So his collection is about the grants that he's seen delivering consistent value over time. So kind of serving that third-party auditor role from his perspective.
Yeah. And I guess there's no limit on how big your collection can be, right? Like you could feasibly have every single one in your collection if you really wanted.
Yep, I've seen one person create a collection of all the grants that have been approved.
There you go. Yeah.
For example. So yeah, and the other thing, so part of the collection thing is we're trying to display the reputation of the collector. So if you're browsing the collections, right at the top you can see of stats on the collector themselves, how many seasons they participated in, how many grants they've donated to, the total value they've donated, whether they've earned any achievements, and we'll look to add more and more of that sort of stuff over time. So again, the goal is to surface the data to let the community decide who's got the reputation, and Pomelo team or Pomelo as a platform to remain as neutral as possible. We're just checking, did you meet the criteria? Is it a public good or is it not? And that's really the only thing that we're doing. And then on top of that, monitoring that people are following the rules. That's another aspect that we're, once you get approved, doesn't mean you're going to remain approved if you break some of the rules.
So actually on that criteria, because you are the person reading all the grants and you have a, deep knowledge on what is a public grant and a public good and how people can make what they're doing a public good. For the last little bit, let's talk about some examples of like mixes, like the complex kind of like public and private goods that exist, and how you can either highlight the public goods in that or just create them. Like, for example, we were talking about Twitter kind of collapsing. Twitter is like a really, really tricky example of, it's a private company. They have a stock and everything, and it's been bought out now. But a lot of what they're doing, like giving people a voice or letting them speak out, like that can be considered a public good. But they also have advertisements. Sure. They make a lot of money from their advertisements, again, as people are pulling those out. Yeah, not so much maybe. But it's that thing where they're getting a lot of their funding from private sources, but what they're doing is for the public good. Thoughts? How does one kind of untangle the mess of private and public goods?
So I would say Twitter would qualify. The devil's always in the detail. So, I'd have to read Elon Musk's grant application and see how he clarifies where the funds are going towards. But, generally speaking, I would say Twitter is a public good. Anyone can create an account and tweet for free. And anyone can read the tweets for free. It's public knowledge sharing, which is valuable. It perhaps would not qualify for Pomelo because it's not Antelope ecosystem specific. Maybe if there were some Antelope features that would cut it. There are aspects of it that are private, like the Twitter Blue subscription. If you want to get a blue check mark, you got to pay for that. So I would have to read through that grant application, and we encourage you in these cases where there's a mix of private and public, be very specific in your grant application on what am I raising the funds for. If I see a bullet point in there that says funds will go towards the development of Twitter Blue, which has a fee to access, that's excludable. It doesn't qualify. But if the funds are being raised to make the browsing experience better or making the ability to tweet for free better, I would say that that's good. That counts.
That makes
Totally.
sense.
I think Kirsten had some really important questions here. Very Telos focused, and I think that's good for our audience here. So we've seen some of the latest grants of Telos projects from the last season, which were somehow small. So just I think the general raise was fairly low. How big is the average grant for projects?
And a lot of some of these projects were the first time around, which Daniel, I know you've said is an important thing.
And the second part of the addendum was, how do you handle non-EOS Antelope chains? Do you think they have the same chance to get funded as EOS ones?
Yeah, I would say it really depends on the community. So I think you guys have been doing an awesome job engaging the Telos community and getting them to come, show support for the Telos grants. And last season was the first time you guys have sort of done this experiment, and a lot of those Telos grants participated for the first time. And what we've seen with Pomelo is there's this kind of building of a reputation each season. Obviously, a lot of the donors that participate in Pomelo are EOS centric. So having some benefit to the EOS community would definitely help, probably additional support. But anything that is, broadly Antelope, benefiting Antelope will qualify as a grant. And like I said, I think it's over time, though, each of these projects building up a reputation, building, getting to know the broader Pomelo community, over time. A lot of the donors in Pomelo probably haven't heard of a lot of these projects yet because they're focused on EOS. So just by creating a grant and showing up on Pomelo and starting to come to the pitch sessions, getting into some collections, I think over time we'll probably see that. So we'll see the good ones, at least the good Telos grants. Hopefully, we'll earn a reputation over time and start to rival some of the other top grants more EOS broadly.
Yeah, and this is something like. Oh, you're going, Evan.
Oh, I was going to say, I think these collections are a great example of potential solution to that, right? I mean, people on EOS might not be looking at the Telos grants, but their collector might be. And that person might think like, hey, there's tons of value here. Like maybe it's something that already exists on EOS that we need on Telos or
right.
Whatever, right?
There's some very well-respected EOS community members who are also Telos community members and Wax community members. So, someone who is maybe a block producer or just a core contributor to any of those ecosystems are very well positioned to create that broad collection that includes both EOS and Telos. And again, raising the reputation of those grants and exposure to a broader audience.
Yeah, a couple things on that.
And I imagine it's similar probably for UX and Wax and some of the other non-EOS chains. We're probably also in the same boat, sort of. And has it only been in the most recent season that a lot of these chains have even been really included?
We have seen a limited, since season 1, I've seen a few Wax grants, obviously less than EOS grants, but I'm definitely, with the Telos Culture team's active participation in season 3, big spike in particular for Telos grants. So I would say probably, I don't know, I'm not tracking data specifically, but just kind of taking a gut reaction. It feels like probably Telos is the number 2, after EOS grants. Now we're seeing more and more Telos grants participating, and again, a lot of that came in season 3, thanks to the great work you guys have been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much. And guys, we're getting close to the end here. If you have any more fantastic questions, feel free to ask us, ask Daniel. And
yeah, a couple questions I have actually. Then we'll wrap things up. Daniel, are you drinking Mountain Dew or green tea?
This is green tea.
Okay.
Looks pretty neon.
Kind of Mountain Dew,
it does. Yeah. Okay, there's a fun question.
Nearly as caffeinated too.
Oh, true. Second, I guess this is more of a comment. Like you were talking about grants working across like Antelope chains. Like I know a big one that we saw, Anchor Wallet. Everyone in Telos mostly uses Anchor. I mean, but they're used across a lot of Antelope chains. That one's a really good cross chain. Like that project benefits every ecosystem. But like when we were creating our grant, the Coalition Chronicle, which I have to write this weekend, which I'm excited to write. We wanted to make it so that it was covering like all the different networks that were working on developing Antelope, rather than just focusing on like Telos, for example, or EOS. So EOS. So like just that kind of cross-chain thinking is something that I think it really benefits the ecosystem as a whole, and it just opens you up to a lot more people who are maybe interested in donating to your project because
opens you to a broader audience. And we're seeing a lot of projects that originate on Telos, and I'm reading the grants, and they're making it open source, which then benefits all of Antelope. If you want to now take this open source smart contract that was originally built for Telos, because we're all sharing the same code base, Antelope, it's very easy to now, great, I can here's a building block. As an EOS developer, I can now use for my EOS project, which is another benefit of public goods, is this, kind of stacking effect. Every season, there's new building blocks on the table, and we're able to use each other's code and accelerate the development of everything we're building.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you want to get in on Pomelo and build those building blocks, help improve Antelope as a whole, you can go on and check out Pomelo, the Pomelo website, pomelo.io. They have got a lot of information on their Medium and their Twitter as well, which you can find there. There's been a lot of really helpful Medium articles I've found. There's also what's the best place for someone if they've got questions? If you're Telos specific, you can come to us. Telos Culture will help you out. For other people, like where should they go to learn more and dive deep into what Pomelo is, other than the website?
Yeah, there's a wiki linked in the website. A lot of great information there. If you want to ask questions, we have a Telegram channel, Pomelo Grants. We've got a channel within the EOS community Discord server, or you can just reach out to me directly, Daniel_Keys on Telegram, or you can find me in the EOS community Discord server.
Well, we just dropped those links to the website and the Pomelo Telegram in there. So guys, if you've got a question, you want to know more, you want to get a grant up, reach out, and someone was going to help get you funding for the awesome public good that you're building. So Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome to chat with you on this 48th episode of the Telos Buzz. Holy moly.
Oh my gosh.
It's been so many. But we're always really happy to run these. And evidently, Potato Man speaks for himself. I'm glad that
he does.
Potato Man
he speaks for us.
He does. So thank you, Daniel. And guys, have a great rest of your week. Not much of it left, but enjoy what you can. And we will see you next time for another great episode. Take care, y'all. See you later.
Thanks, guys.